YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back in Total War Warhammer 2, and I decided that kind of a fun series we can do around multiplayer would be talking about all the changes that came in the II patch, race by race, and how it impacts multiplayer. It's going to take a while, it's going to take some episodes, but that's okay, it's going to be fun. I wanted to start with the Empire, one of the earliest factions of the game, right? It was one of the first 4 in the original game, so how was the Empire changed in the latest patch? Well, at least in my opinion, across the board, they pretty much got a buff. I don't know that any of it is insane buffs, but it's nice. I mean, the Empire is going to be a little bit better off because of what happened. So let me talk through some of the changes, and actually all of the changes, and we'll discuss how they potentially impact the game. So the first is, and by the way, there is a battle in these videos. If you want to skip to the battle, feel free. It's okay. Not going to hold you here. Anyway, so Royal Altdorf Griffites, they actually picked up cost, which you might think is a nerf, but they also picked up 8 extra health per entity and dropped 2 charge bonus. So that means overall, each unit entity, so that's 24 times 8, is the total health that is picked up. So 100 and something health for the total unit at the cost of a little charge bonus, and they cost more. Probably not a buff for this unit because you pay the extra, but it's probably just more of a balancing tweak. Won't change it a lot, it'll just make it cost a little more. But if this entity costs more, many others do not. But let's keep talking about Demigryph Knights. So the Halberd variant picked up 8 health per entity as well, and minus 2 charge bonus. Now the Demigryph Knights with lances, which you don't see terribly often, also picked up the 8 health per entity, but instead of losing charge bonus, it stays the same, and they actually gained 2 melee defense, which will make them more survivable in a prolonged melee. So interesting change to that unit. We'll see how that plays out over time. Hellblaster Volley Gun, a fun unit already, got a little bit cheaper. That's good. So we saw a reduction to the multiplayer cost. The Hellstorm Rocket Battery is now 1,000 cheaper, or sorry, 100 cheaper. Also a nice buff to the rocket battery, especially in a world of skirmishy pirates. And then the Empire Captain also dropped 50 cost in multiplayer, which really what I love about this unit is the way that it supports state troops. So you come in here, yeah, these units, never mind, I meant to go right here to the abilities. It's this right here, Hold the Line. An extra 5 melee defense and 4 leadership for state troops is a big deal. 37 melee defense on a swordsman is a heck of a lot better than 32, and so forth. So that is a big deal when you're sporting armies full of state troops. Empire Captains become a fantastic support unit, so something for you to consider. Crossbowmen, 25 multiplayer cost cheaper. That's good. Again, crossbows are going to play an important role in the newer state of the game. Gives the Empire a non-armor piercing variant of Skirmisher for a slightly better price, giving them continued flexibility, which the Empire has always had. The Pistoliers picked up 8 charge bonus and 2 melee attack. That's a big deal because these guys are so crap in melee, and I mean crap, that they could barely even kill archer units if they did kill them. I'm not saying that they'll do a whole lot better at that now with just 8 charge bonus and stuff, but it only puts them at 20 charge bonus, by the way, and they have a anemic 20 attack and 14 defense. But hey, again, whatever they picked up, the 2 melee attack and 8 charge bonus is a help. It's a step in the right direction. So Pistoliers took a small buff. The Witch Hunter actually was one of the few units that was just outright nerfed. He lost 10 ammunition. But if you look, he's still got a lot of ammunition. So I don't think you've got too much to worry about there from the Witch Hunter. That was probably just some kind of balancing thing for people who got to the late game maybe and just kited people to death. Great Swords, an extra 2 leadership. Not going to change the world, but why not? Take some extra leadership on the Great Swords, you never know. Halberds, same thing, plus 2 leadership. Again, not going to change the world, but it's a buff of some sort. Spearmen without shields picked up extra bonus versus large. That's going to make these guys more flexible in that battle against large units, now at 15. So a nice bonus there. And then the Steam Tank picks up a hefty buff with extra 35 AP damage, an extra 5 base melee damage, and 3 extra bonus versus infantry. So it makes the Steam Tank more potent than it already was, which was pretty potent, versus infantry. Knights of the Blazing Sun picked up 1 AP melee damage and lost that in their base damage, so their overall damage stayed the same. I don't know how much difference 1 AP makes. Maybe it's a lot when it comes from 45 different units or entities in the unit, so be an interesting one. And then the Great Cannon, we don't get any specifics, but it says increased accuracy. That sucks for dwarves, but it's going to be nice for the Empire. So overall, the Empire seeing a, somewhat minor in most respects to each unit buff, but as that adds up across an army, it could be pretty nice. So I personally think that these changes, I don't see why these changes would hurt anything unless someone can prove otherwise. I'm going to go ahead and start loading into the battle. I played a battle against Burning Apollo and his greenskins. You can see the army composition here, so that I don't have to cover it. Feel free to pause it. But you can see I've got state troops and steam tanks versus his black orcs supported by goblins. He's got Wurzag, and I've got Boris in the middle of my state troops on one side, and then on the other side I've got an Empire captain. And my strategy is going to be pretty straightforward. I figured he had Vanguard deployed units, and he does. Let's keep an eye out for those. But Wurzag was mounted on his boar, and this actually worked out great for me because it makes him a very easy target for my steam tanks. I'm going to be able to keep Wurzag completely away from the fight through the duration of this, which is going to end up being extremely handy to me. As I expect to lose the infantry fight, but I want it to carry on for as long as possible, and then the goal from there is a mop-up operation with the steam tanks. And between Boris and my Empire captain, the fight should last longer than it normally would. As you can see, Boris actually debuffs the melee defense of enemy units that are nearby him. My crossbows will be able to do some contending with his superior skirmish force here, which is 2 Night Goblin Archers into Rusty Airs. And then over here I've got to contend with the Broken Tusk Mob. And then he's also got the Squig Hopper unit out here. Where is it hiding? Right here it is. Durkit's Night Goblin Squig Hoppers. I've only got the 1 Empire Knight, so I had to spend all my money on steam tanks. And for the person leaving the steam tank comment on every video, I want to see something nice here. You finally got your steam tank battle. So I'm using my wizard to heal up the tank, which is already, to heal my, oh no, he's going to use the Foot of Gork. Won't work on a tank. He should have used it on the infantry. But he does route my infantry in the center very quickly because that's where my heroes are not. I wish I could have afforded one more hero, but I'm certainly not going to be throwing a Jade Wizard. And you can only take a total of 3 hero units here. You can't spam any more than that. I'm going to get his Broken Tusk Mob on the charge, which is very fortunate for me, and I've got Spearmen to help, but that is still going to be a tough fight. My steam tank is under heavy fire from the Rusty Airs, which is not good because they sunder armor, and they're making my tank weaker as a whole, but my tanks kind of had to start to fill in as a main line because my line starts to crumble, expectedly. They got some with these Squig Hoppers, so I will use my Jade Wizard and my Spearmen to do that. The steam tank is good, but in prolonged melee with something like Black Orcs, it is going to take damage, especially when it's under a hail of fire from these Gobbo Archers, and it's also going to get hit by the Effigy of the Git. I put an Earthblood here. There's also Regrowth going on, which only replenishes Vigor now. It doesn't give the physical resistance, so Regrowth took a bit of a nerf in the last patch. I'm just trying to keep this tank alive for as long as possible. I haven't even gotten to use its ammunition. And quite honestly, I probably should have just fled away with the tank. Just why stay there and fight? I can get away from the Black Orcs. I should just be leaving and taking the steam tank away to shoot from a distance. Instead, I end up pulling out this steam tank, and I'm like, alright, I got rid of Wurzag. I'm going to go over here and get rid of these archers. So Wurzag's effect on the battle was somewhat limited. And Boris on foot is just over here tanking like an absolute beast. He's got 43 kills, and he will be tanking for quite a long time. The Squig Hoppers are doing some nice rear charges. They killed a whole bunch of my crossbowmen. They have been an effective nuisance, keeping my crossbowmen out of the fight. I considered not bringing crossbowmen, but decided to just in case he had archers. But I haven't gotten to use my crossbows very much against the archers. Now, the regular Gobbo Archers won't do a ton versus the steam tank. They'll chip away at it some, but without the Rusty Airs to help, it should be better. Actually, did they have armor sundering weapons? No, thank goodness. Thank goodness for me. I couldn't remember. So the one steam tank is still alive. It manages to get a few kills. It's even picked up a chevron for the work it did against Wurzag. My Empire Captain should come back from routing. My crossbows came back, but I didn't quite see Dirkit's squig hoppers in time, so I didn't get a volley off with my crossbowmen, and so these stinking squig hoppers are going to rack up even more kills and be even more effective. I'm in a bit of a tight spot, but you can see the balance bar is still good for me because Wurzag was knocked out and the greenskins lack leadership. So really the only units holding them up right now are the black orcs. Remember that they won't be scared away by the terror on the steam tank. I saved up and had enough left for another regrowth here. I'm going to get as much healing into the steam tanks as I can. The more hit points it has, the more slaughter it can perform. The challenge here is I have to keep chasing off these archers, but then that sucks because I can't support these blobbed infantry fights, where the steam tanks will be extremely useful. If I would have done a better job with my crossbowmen, I probably could have dealt with these archers a little better, and then my steam tank could be over here firing the steam gun and its cannonballs into this blobbed infantry fight where it would be doing extremely well. But the good news is I do have a steam tank that's in good health, and I've got my Jade Wizard. He doesn't have a ton of magic left, but over time he should be able to summon up enough for another Earthblood or a regrowth, depending on the situation. So one more spell I got left in him, plus he's mobile, and he can hunt down units, which is going to end up being very critical here for me. These squig hoppers have been ridiculously effective now at 116 kills. Look at this over here. Even having caught his Tusk Mob on the charge, Empire Knight's not really cut out for this kind of fight. Perhaps I should have tried to pull the Empire Knights out and left my Spearmen to fight this. But one way or the other, we should have just enough left to finish off the Tusk Mob here. Yeah, the Empire Knights all but gone now. But the Tusk Mob and the Squig Hoppers just not quite able to finish off these Spearmen, who end up doing a tremendous job for me, nearly picking up a Chevron. And then just look at Boris. 76 kills, and it takes all these infantry units to rout him because of his ability to heal. Bad news is now he's routed. Good news is my Empire Captain is regrouping on the hill, and my steam tanks have managed to deal with his Goblin Archers, which were a huge threat, and also my Jade Wizard helped with that. So you can see over here some of these archers regrouping. I go after the one that sunders armor, of course. It's going to shatter. Now the archers are dealt with, and I can finally turn back into the fight and see what we can do to take out this greenskin army here. So you're going to see the greenskins really working at getting rid of Boris. And as for me, I want to get my steam tank back up and personal in range so that I can start picking off these infantry. The only problem is the greenskins are probably going to know they can't catch the steam tank, so they're probably going to turn and run for my regrouped infantry, which I don't want because I don't want the power bar to swing in favor of the greenskins. They still outnumber me, not quite 3-1, but fairly close. This blob is very, very tempting, and part of me wants to stop and fire at it, and probably part of me should have, while just bringing in my Jade Wizard for distraction. So, but yeah, I haven't stopped to fire yet because I wanted to close the distance and get to where my cannons were going to be more accurate. At this point, I didn't figure I could save Boris. There, I stopped to fire one cannonball, get a little bit of work done, but I'm going to keep trying to close the distance over time. And it was taking quite a long while for my steam tank to reload shots, so I was like, let's just keep moving. Because he's going to get close to all my regrouped spears. He's got a Gobbo spear that regrouped over here too to cut off my retreat. It's going to be unfortunate for me. But I have another spear unit here. He's got the broken Tusk Mob BAP, as well as the Dirkit Squig Hoppers. These guys just don't give up. And some legendary Squig Hoppers there. You can see desperately here Boris trying to get away from the fight. One thing I could have done here probably was just sacrifice these spears to get Boris free. But I decided to pull the spears back. At this point, I'm writing Boris off and figuring that I won't get him back. But I'll see. These Squig Hoppers finally met their match. The steam tank taught them who was boss. So the almighty steam tank now just going to sit here and start opening fire on black orcs. That's going to be our target of choice. Back here I noticed that I could go ahead and chase these night goblins. And also if I bring a unit nearer to Boris, it's possible he'll come back from routing. And indeed he does. I get very lucky here. But the night gobbos release their fanatics there too. But Boris comes back around, and between him and the spears we should be able to win that fight. And then my steam tank is kind of moving away from these savage biggins. They actually don't stand a chance, really, against the steam tank. I'm just trying to bide time here. I really want to kill black orcs. I don't really want to mess with these savage biggins. These guys are a lot easier to break. But right now, not so much. Something that I can't just break him with the Jade Wizard, right? They still do a lot of damage to him. To the steam tank, they are anti-large, but they're not armor piercing. So the steam tank shouldn't take tons of damage from him. It'll take damage, but it won't be too absurd there. You can see the orcs are just faster than my infantry. So they are able to catch most of my tired infantry. Even though my guys are active and his are exhausted, so 29 speed. That's weird. 30 speed, 30 speed. Maybe the charge animation is allowing them to catch up. It's kind of strange. So I'm going to use the steam tank here to see if I can pick off a unit of black orcs, but their leadership's a little too good for that. But they do take massive, extensive damage in the process, which is good. Steam tank going to rack up a few more kills, but I don't want to bog down for too long. I'm using my Jade Wizard to run charges on the Savage Biggins, and then I just look for an opportunity to get him out of the fight. So I'm charging in, doing some damage, and then keeping him safe. I need the leadership and the power bar that he gives me here. He doesn't really have any magic left. It'll still be important for that. I go ahead and take the fight here, even though I'm going to lose, because it'll give me an opportunity to keep whittling away these black orcs. So I'm just going to get into combat with them while some of these other units are tanking and taking the attention of the black orcs. I'm going to swing around with my Jade Wizard and get ready to come help. Steam tank, I had room for just one more regrowth. So the steam tank is going to pick up a lot more health. This is very bad news for the greenskins. It's going to be difficult for them to hold their leadership together, though. You can see the leadership, though, on these black orcs is just rock solid. Rock solid. Look at that. So even without a leader, they're putting up an impressive display. They've got numbers, and they're not scared of the steam tank. And see, that's where the other day I still get people who argue with me, and it's fine. I'm not saying it has to happen, but that's one of the reasons why you pay so much for Chosen, and they're just so disappointing. Yeah, they're good in certain scenarios, but in a scenario like this, the Chosen probably would have already routed due to the terror, whereas the Black Orcs aren't. So it's a huge deal when you get into a late game scenario like this. Doesn't really matter a ton in the early fight because your leaders are around and you can kind of keep that terror at bay. But when you get into a late game fight like this, immune to psychology is a big deal. So Boris is still around. He's only got 595 hit points. My Empire Captain only at 297. We're going to use these poor blokes as a meat shield here. I'm not just going to keep running away from my opponent, even though it would be the most efficient way for me to try and finish the battle. I am getting some nice shots with the steam tank. I'm trying to wear the Black Orcs down. So I went ahead and braced my spearmen, kept Boris and the captain nearby so that the Black Orcs would get debuffed and my spearmen buffed. Again, just to wear them down, but I have to move away from the fight because I'm going to be chased by more Black Orcs. Over here, just getting rid of the Savage Biggins again. These guys just don't seem to take a hint. Now I can focus again. My spearmen are holding and my steam tank able to take shots. You can see that the spearmen here did a really nice job of wearing down the Black Orcs a little more. So now their leadership could potentially start to waver due to unit losses. And you can see the power bar swinging in my favor as well because of being able to kind of work these guys down. Another regrouped unit behind me. It's probably the Savage Biggins again. No, it's the Warlords boys. The Savage Biggins are back there again. All steam tank, boys. For Sigmar. And the Jade Wizard, he's going to get a little bit of action. And Boris is still kind of running away, but I'm going to engage him soon here too, just to hold down Black Orcs while the steam tank does its work. And its work is the purification of these savages from the Badlands. Look at it purifying them with steam. It is a nice steam bath. The orcs don't get one very often. Again, just kind of kiting for just a second till I can get in the scenario I want to be, but not going to just, you know, all missile kite him here. He wants to fight. I'm pretty sure I can win at this point. So I go ahead and decide to charge my regrouped troops in. And let's just do this thing. Let's get to the final showdown. Here comes the Spearman. Boris is going to charge in. And then my Jade Wizard is harassing these regrouped Night Goblins because that's the most appropriate target for him. Boris fighting like a boss. And here comes the Steam Tank plowing on through its enemies with all that beautiful anti-infantry damage. Coated in the blood of its foes, it leads me to victory. So, Sigmar's Steam Tanks, the mechanized cavalry, brings home the win for me. This one with a triple chevron and 200 kills. So the Steam Tanks here being clutch and helping me get rid of Wurzag. I hated that my opponent had to watch me drive around so much, but that's kind of how I had to finish that one. But I did try to get into melee with him at certain points. But yes, did some kiting there. I'm sure there's going to be some people hate on me for that, but that's kind of the way the game goes at that point. So look at his squig hoppers, though. Man, kudos to this guy. He wrecked me with those squig hoppers. It was really nice. I liked it. His Black Orcs did some serious work, as expected, against state troops, but state troops getting just enough juice from their leaders, right, to hang on in that fight, stick in there a little longer. And that's one of the things that I like about the buffs at the Empire heroes. You can get this Empire captains for so cheap, and he can put that extra melee defense and leadership on the state troops to help them hold that fight just that much longer. And I think that's where, and plus he has to be killed, and they're not super easy to kill. They're shielded, you know, they're armored. It just takes a little while for units to cut them down. And same thing with Boris. That was the idea, was just to bring a unit that can sit there and tank and hold up infantry units, while that hopefully my crossbowmen and tanks did the work, when in this case my crossbowmen got worked by the squig hoppers, and one of my tanks got worked too, but the other one managing to get free and doing the job. So thank you to Burning Apollo for the game. Hopefully you all got to see a little bit here about the Empire. So again, overall summary, a bit of a buff in the patch. Nothing that's going to shatter the world, but a bit of a buff and something to give you all a little more to work with the Empire. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll be back soon with more. See you then.